first of all, I want to begin by thanking a few folks. First of all, I want to thank the Marlborough Pub for hosting us this evening and for all the support this incredible venue gives to me and a host of other amazing artists. This place is a real gem and I'm hugely grateful to its existence. Make sure you buy lots of drinks as well as the free bubbly. And gems like this only stay open if punters frequent and support them, so make sure you come in there lots. Secondly, I want to thank my publisher, Steve Rudd. He's not here today, but I want to thank him. It's recorded. Thanks, Steve. The King's England Press have been supporting my work and continuing to support my work. It's been a magical journey to be on. Having my writing believed in by Steve it's just been incredible, and I'm hugely grateful to him for having given me this opportunity. I'm also indebted to Steve for introducing me to Rachel Beaumont, who helped me by editing my text into the book that you see before you today, which looks like this. She's absolutely amazing and has been really helpful with all of the text editing. And of course, I want to say a huge thank you to Mish Maudsley for designing yet another gorgeous cover. The work is absolutely beautiful. I love your work, Mish, and thank you so much for all your continuing support. Oh, you're the best, that's why I picked you. So last but not least, I want to thank Emlyn. Emlyn is my husband, he's over there. He's my backbone and he supports me through this crazy roller coaster we call life. And I love being on this ride with him. Often describing me as a whirlwind, he takes my constant twists and turns on the chin and gives me the space and freedom I need to be able to grow and create. Just about. I appreciate it so much. Thank you. I did ask Emily if he wanted to read my new book, because I didn't want to read my last one, which was probably best. Seeing as he features in this one quite heavily, though for legal reasons everything in all of the books is 100% fiction. But he has actually declined from flicking through its pages, so don't tell him anything. I love that you trust me. You are an awesome person, and thank you for being mine. I love you, darling. So, without further delay, introducing Never Worn. What's this one about? In a nutshell, it's about infertility, IVF, failure and depression. So fun! I hope for anyone who's been through anything similar, this will be something that will be really useful, because actually, when you go on that journey, there's nothing out there. I mean, literally, you're talking about Tom Thumb and shit like that. Like, there just is nothing out there. And the only story you ever get told, and it's totally well-meaning, but it's people always saying, as soon as you relax and stop thinking about it, it will happen. Literally gonna fucking kill you. So, I'm hoping that this is a positive story for anyone who goes through something like that, of someone who went through it, came out the other end, relationship remained together, and life went on great afterwards. Woo! So, woo! Happy to be that story. Now, this book is the hardest creative endeavour I've ever shared with the world, because it does contain a lot of pain, obviously, and covers a period in my life that was full of darkness. Whenever I read this book, and I've had to read it lots of times to prove it lately, it's a really uncomfortable experience. The thought of people I know in my life going off and reading this now does make me cringe and feel a little bit sick, so you're very welcome to not read it. Please buy it. Is that a good thing? I don't know, possibly. I think, obviously, real stuff's better to read about than just, oh, everything's great and superfluous. Life isn't always picture perfect, is it? I'm hoping readers who are not currently in a good place themselves will get something out of this book, because I think it's good to know that you're not alone. And because life really can be a crock of shit when it wants to be. I've had a great few years recently, 5 to be exact, and I know that because exactly 5 years ago I had 7 really shit years. So I can be able to compare them, and I know how that feels. A dear friend shared a wise saying with me recently, which is that comparison is the thief of joy, which I think is a fucking beautiful saying. When I was in darkness, I felt like everyone was doing better than me, everyone was having babies, everything was working out for everybody else. From an observer's point of view, it looks like I've just produced 2 books in 2 years, which I know is really fucking annoying. Sure, go on. I actually wrote The Girl... I wrote The Girl Who Ruled the World 11 years ago, and I spent 10 years thinking that I didn't write well enough to get published. And I wrote Never Worn 5 years ago. That's why I appreciate my publisher so much supporting me, because until he said, yeah, I want to publish this book, I didn't think that I was any good at writing, so that was really wonderful. So yeah, I wrote Never Worn 2 years ago, so never think that a single defeat is an ultimate defeat. I have a 7-year itch, it seems, that manifests as writing a book. I've always written journals and used diaries as a way of working through my feelings. Being a diva, doing that. These books help me make sense of big moments in my life, whether they're going to end up being published or not. Perhaps this is something to do with Saturn moving through my birth chart, which is why it's called Saturn Returns. Maybe it's because my cells rejuvenate every 7 years and my new body wishes to tell its own story. Whatever it is, there's something about my life that seems to fit into 7-year chapters. I wrote The Girl Who Ruled the World when I was 28 and Never Worn when I was 35, and my next one is coming out in 2 years when I'm 42, which is of course called The Meaning of Life, obviously. The Girl Who Ruled the World captured a time when everything seemed possible, dreams were achievable and the world was malleable. Never Worn is a healthy antidote to this innocence of youth and captures a time when dreams are ashes, plans are no more than jokes for God to laugh at, and the feeling of failure oozes from every pore in Esmeralda's body. Don't worry though, there's still loads of sex and drugs and rock and roll. Obviously all fiction. It will make you laugh out loud still. I think Never Worn might even be more shocking than The Girl Who Ruled the World, so just warning you, because it was really bad. But Never Worn is about a period of life that isn't great, as I mentioned, but I'm hoping the readers will get 2 main things out of reading it. First of all, I hope readers see that, although shit happens, it doesn't last forever. It might feel like it's going to. It could even be that the dark times go on for a really long time, but nothing lasts forever. The bad times or the good. Life will continue to keep swinging back and forth, so don't give up when times are tough, and likewise, don't get cocky when times are good. The second thing I hope readers will get from this book is to not worry too much about the future or about making big-ass plans. It's good to have dreams, but dreams never turn out exactly how you imagine they will, so it's best not to get too attached to them. Aim in their general direction if you want to, and if the arrow happens to hit somewhere near the target, then that's just dandy. But if the arrow completely misses, then one can always choose to just be curious to see where it's landed, because who knows what kind of adventure that might lead you on. I've learned the hard way to relinquish my belief that I have 1 iota of control over this universe. It's utter fucking chaos. None of my dreams turned out the way I'd expected them to, but since giving in and surrendering to the dance, I've discovered that the twists and turns can be a lot of fun. In fact, they can be utterly delightful. And if you sit with things for long enough, eventually they become gifts that teach you new ways to grow, or let go, or relax, or whatever that thing is that they're trying to teach you. Something like just being. Doing things for fun rather than ambition has been more rewarding for me personally than any of the hard-steeled ambition I used to wear as a mantle around my neck. And I encourage anyone who thinks that they have a book in them, or any other creative endeavour that they're planning to do one day, but are waiting for the right conditions to be perfect, to just get on with it and do it now, just for shits and giggles. Don't worry about finishing it or what other people will think of it. Just start it and do it for your own joy. Do it to entertain yourself. Do it to heal yourself. Do it to express your beautiful self. And just let it lead you somewhere and see where it takes you. It knows better than you do. Which brings me full circle, taking my own advice. I need now not to worry about what you think about Never Worn. It really is none of my business. This baby is cut loose from the apron strings and is off on its own adventure into the big wide world. Who knows where it will end up, or what effects it might have, but it's free from me. So without further ado, I'm going to read you a little bit of it. Where's Fashy? Did you just go? Fashy? Oh, good, because you're in this bit. So with my first book, no one gets named, and this one, Timmy and Cash get named. Sutton Vale. They're called Jimmy and Fash. Timmy and Cash. They're the only ones that I can work out how to do it without saying some names. Anyway.
Timmy and Cash. So.
And it's only in the first chapter, no one else gets named. Oh, well. Anyway. Oh, you great hairy toe of a city. Esmeralda was parched. She peeled her eyelids back like rind from an orange and peered into the high ceiling of the gloomy room. She loved the smell of Berlin. A faint hint of dark wood, doner kebabs and European drains danced at the back of her nasal passages and triggered the many endorphins that loved swimming to that good old Bavarian beat. This great ugly toe of a city was Esmeralda's spiritual home. Your roads are wide and your pavements shitty. She'd been frequenting the place since the early 90s, back when it still looked like the set from a Mad Max film. The buildings had been pocked with scars of bullet holes, which the communists had never seen fit to fill in, though more than likely they could never have afforded to fill them all in, because it would have required resurfacing every building in Berlin. The bullet holes had been everywhere. Those that were human height and along the sides of buildings showed where the Nazis had carried out their systematic murders, and those that were around windows and up the sides of buildings showed where the Russian army had shot the shit out of the city during its liberation. You could not help but wonder at the story behind each and every hole. Had that one marked the death of a Jew? Did they finally get the soldier holding out in that torched mausoleum? And overall, they left the uncanny feeling that the war had ended only yesterday. Herr Franz potted around his apartment, laying down his daily collection of newspapers, one of each paper every single day. Already he had leafed through the pages and highlighted the idiosyncrasies, comparing the same stories, noticing the differences. Each paper was a child to Herr Franz. He had been there at their birth, each fresh with individual personality. He'd watched them grow, mature, flourish or flounder. He knew what they were going to say on a matter before they'd even said it, and his impartial love was served out to each of his children with equal attention, until pouring in. McDonald's opened up, but the punks kept pissing on it until it closed down and moved on. It closed and moved 3 times before its roots were able to take hold. Spray paint marked out where the punks had set up shop, and it shouted their opinions into the faces of all nervous visitors. Although Esmeralda presumed that the aim of the graffiti had been far from aesthetically based, it sure as hell gone a long way to cheering the place up a bit. Esmeralda loved the way spray paint vibrated, that every movement of the artist was captured in the strokes of the paint, which meant that the city had become a toxic vibrating mess of colour, dancing over the acne-pitted scars bearing the weight of the dark memories that lay beneath, like thick makeup on a fucked up drag act. "What's that?" asked Timmy, pointing at the great space age erection. "Communist cities always seem to have one of those," replied Esmeralda. "It's the TV tower. Shaped like a cherry on a toothpick, the landmark towered way above the rooftops of the city. Looks like something out of a James Bond film," he noted. "It's nicknamed the Pope's Revenge," informed Esmeralda, climbing onto her tour guide's soapbox. "Normally when you shine light onto a ball, it will reflect off it as a spot of light, but for some reason the light reflects off the TV tower as a golden cross. Now the communists weren't too into crucifixes, in fact they were banned, so they weren't happy that a great golden crucifix towered over the whole of East Berlin." "How come it happens?" asked Cash, as she snapped away with her camera. "No one knows," replied Esmeralda. "But they spent a fortune hammering out all the panels trying to stop it from happening. As you can see, it didn't work." It's like a time warp, isn't it? When Esmeralda had first arrived in Berlin during the 90s, the streets had still been lined with dog shit and pissed off punks. It terrified Esmeralda, but it had also set her heart lurching around inside its ribcage, because she loved anything from the realm of the other. Esmeralda had always felt like she belonged to the other. Berlin, throughout history, had been a sanctuary for such people, from its gay heyday in Isherwood's time, through the persecution of the Jews, to the Great Walled Enclosure of the East. Its history has been pocked with others as its face had been pocked with bullet holes. But the bullet holes were all but gone now, as were nearly all of the punks and squats. Esmeralda had been deeply disturbed to discover, the day before, upon arriving at her old squat on Riegerstrasse, that a fire had occurred a few months earlier, presumably started by the new owner of the building, which had destroyed the entire squat and all of its contents. Luckily no one had been hurt, but the large number of punks and dog shit in the area had been greatly diminished. When Esmeralda had lived there, it had been with 46 punks, 16 dogs, 1 baby, and only 1 bathroom for them all to share. She'd spent 6 months over winter in a freezing cold room with a window that didn't shut properly because the house was subsiding. She had a skinhead then, with a tiny diagonal tuft of a Mohican along one side of her head, which meant that during the cold winter she had to wear a woolen hat 24/7 to stop her head from freezing. This left a ring of bright red spots around the circumference of her head, where she never had the chance to either wash or take her hat off. And my God, had she stunk. Whilst Esmeralda had been on the pavement, peering up at the empty shell of a building, tears welled up in her eyes, and she mourned at its still formidable expanse. And stepping backwards, she planted her foot firmly in a great big pile of dog shit. She had to laugh. There was still life in the old dog yet. That's what's quite fun, is I basically just write down exactly what people say. So 7 years later, you just hear your own words like floating across the ether. So thank you all so much for coming. Basically, I'm going to sign some books. If people want to buy a copy, then you can come get one, and I shall sign them for you. Stu Boogaloo's going to be doing a quiz next door in like half an hour, which is always really good fun. So you want to stick around and finish more booze. We can do that. So yeah, thank you all so much for coming. And was there anything else I wanted to say to you? No? Oh yeah, I'm selling these cheaper than they'll be on Amazon or in the shops. So get on while they're hot.